Hey guys, welcome back. Oh my god, there's a loud noise from my... I don't know what that was. Okay, welcome back. We're doing... Okay, we're doing self-analysis. This is the one where I alternate wins and losses and how the order in which I cover them. Last time I made this, it was a very sad loss. So today I get to share with you, spoiler alert, you can probably do the guesswork. Okay, it's a very cool game. I think that it's one of the most impressive games I've I've done. Um, so part of the reason I say that, so it was a very high stakes match. So my opponent and I both put a lot of time into it, trying to win, and also the matchup, very difficult to do. So the context, this was a tournament that Dredge hosted this tournament in summer of 2021. And I think the idea was it was just another standard tournament because we were growing so much as a community that we wanted to throw out more tournaments so that the new players could get in and try out tournaments. Because at the time we were holding tournaments like once every maybe like 4 months or 3 or 4 months, we'd hold a tournament, maybe even less frequent than that. And when Nintendo announced the remake of the new Advance Wars game, everybody had a lot more passion for playing the game. We got a ton of new players, anyways. Basically, like, we were making more tournaments, and this is one of those. So I think this was actually like round 1 or 2, pretty early. So my opponent here, CleanerCode. So CleanerCode actually started from Wargroove, where he was a very good Wargroove player. Not that many players in the Wargroove community compared to Advanced Wars by Web right now. But I think he had an argument for being like top 5, which is a lot because pretty high because with Psychoia, Sedge, Xeronix and Shu, and Sneaky, that's already like 5 people that are really good. I think CleanerCode had an argument for being in there with those guys. So yeah, CleanerCode definitely very strong Wargroove player at the time and got into Advanced Wars by Web. So this was during his come up in Advanced Wars by Web. He was rising through the ranks. I think he was somewhere in the 1100 range when we fought. But with really strong fundamentals, just maybe a little less game knowledge. So I had the top here on Roll for Initiative, and CleanerCode had the bottom. So I tried to go for what I thought was the best pick, which is Rachel here. So one of the benefits of Rachel on this map from this position is that so her Super CO power, rains down 3 different missiles from the sky. And there's a few different conditions. There's a condition for each missile. One is it lands in the area that has the most number of units that it can hit. One is it hits as many infantry as possible. And then the last one is it does as much damage as possible. So for 2 of the 3, it's not uncommon for the missile to have 2 different areas that are equally good. So same number of infantry that it could hit or same number of units it could hit. So it's not uncommon to have the missile tie. And the way that the missile resolves the tie is that the missile starts searching from the upper left and then goes right at like this. And then it starts back over here, and then it goes left to right, like you're reading a book. So the benefit to a north country, south country map is Rachel on the top is that when you have a tiebreaker, the missile tends to go north. The missile tends to hit towards the middle of the map rather than at the bottom of the map. And that's how the tiebreaker resolves. So the middle of the map is where the fighting is, and that's where you want your missiles to land. So that's like the long and windy, windy. I don't know. That's the long-winded way to say that Rachel is like marginally better when she's on the top of a map, and like when you want the tiebreakers to go up and left. Okay. So that is why I chose Rachel. Now, a lot of people believe that Andy kind of hard counters Rachel, and that I also kind of believe, to some extent. Like, Rachel needs to play very differently versus Andy. So Andy, of course, his thing is that he heals units. Rachel's thing is that she damages units with her Super CO power. So the deal is like Andy just like sits back waiting for Rachel to use her missile power, and then he heals back up all the damage like nothing happened, and then he like counter hits really bad. So like the matchup on paper seems pretty Andy sided, but there are things that Rachel can do to win here. So like, for full disclosure, like I was the more experienced player, probably had a higher rating, but CleanerCode's still like a very strong player. So I mean that's the caveat to say that like it would be hard. It'd be harder to win versus a better player, but like we'll go through and look at our moves and critique them and sort of figure out, you know, I won't be afraid to like point out bad moves when we find them. So with that, I think we can go ahead and get into this game then. Okay. So let's see. I mean, we can talk about opening theory just a little bit. I think it's better for the lander to be out of tile so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that at least has the option of dropping the infantry from onto this mountain, which means that you have the option of going for this chain capture, which it's kind of a conservative chain, but like, you know, who knows? Maybe you get this city as part of your chain, and then you're pretty economically advantaged through that. But I don't know. It just seems like slightly more optimal because you have more options, but it's not a big deal. It also gives like cyan what's this color? Blue. It gives blue the option of doing an opening that that gray sky can't mirror, because on turn 1 you see the landers here and can't drop here. So I don't know. It just adds some asymmetry element. So it's kind of interesting. Or at least it's like the order's reversed on some things, so it's a little bit different. Okay, but I go for the immediate cap here. This cap is kind of like hard to pass up on because you can chain it into here, or alternatively you can like, this guy can capture here, this guy finishes capturing, build inf, and then you double infantry drop over here. Okay, capturing forward is like a little bit more aggressive. You can cap here, and then you can immediately interrupt this cap. And that's what CleanerCode goes for here too, is going, instead of chaining with this infantry, he decides to start capture immediately, and then he has the option of double dropping from the lander. And I do this as well. Kind of like a more conservative route here to get more money. Yeah, I'm sure there's like some science you can do to like accelerate a tank or something, but I didn't go into quite that level of detail with, at least I don't remember studying that map as carefully. I said that backwards. Study this map that carefully. Okay, so here's the double drop. So there's a couple different ways you can drop. So this drop allows for immediately capturing this back chain, which is a chain of 2, which is nice to capture earlier. This guy here has the option of capturing this city, which is somewhat contestable, or he can go straight for the airport. So, I mean, the issue is if you don't go here immediately, you might get interrupted. However, getting airport first can get you a B-copter, which then you can build a B-copter and then immediately cover this capture, which is a pretty good option here. Like, very early B-copter on this map kind of like relieves a lot of pressure from this side of the map, because like your bases are really far away. So building a B-copter immediately kind of like gives you some breathing room. All right, so I decided to double drop as well. Let's send that guy forward. And I decided to drop differently. So instead of going for this like safe chain, I decide to, it's like this is, I guess, yeah, instead of going for the safe chain early, I go for this capture first, and then immediately go for this airport city chain. So it's like I both get the contestable property, and I go for my airport early to like get the B-copter for the get off me move. And that seems like pretty good when you put it that way. I don't know how good it is actually, but that's the idea behind it. All right, so infantry moving forward, nothing special here. We can talk about my build. So I had an opportunity to full buy where I have 0 money left over and could do a tank. So the tank, it does put some pressure on this city in particular, which can be contestable, but until like once the B-copter comes out, then the tank has a lot more trouble interrupting this capture. So the tank is like thinking about this property, I guess. Or potentially this property too, if he hadn't captured forward. If he had gone for the airport, then both of these properties I could try to contest. And then he goes tank as well, mirroring me. Probably has the same idea. Okay, so I go for a pretty aggressive idea here, which is that I'm gonna potentially skip building. I'm gonna potentially skip capturing here, or I do skip capturing here, and then have the idea of doing tank infantry kill, which is actually not even guaranteed at no attack bonuses. This kill is not guaranteed, so I'm actually not sure how good this is, but I guess I was thinking along the lines of like it looks like a free kill, except for this tank I can go and reinforce with a lander. So I don't know if I was not considering that or if I just thought that this was the free kill or it just seemed like a good thing to threaten. I don't know. Sort of seeing that the tank can come with the lander makes me think it's better to just take the money. All right, normal moves. Finishes capturing instead of getting off. It seems like the right thing to do. And here comes the tank drop along with an infantry. And that covers the city. So now this infantry has to awkwardly like go back here. Or else, I don't know, maybe go for an aggressive cap, but then this infantry has nothing better to do than to interrupt. So it's like, I don't know how useful it is. So this guy actually skips a cat and goes towards center instead of capturing here. That's kind of interesting to note. Maybe the idea is that he wants to like capture this property because otherwise I can capture here, finish capture, and then interrupt. So maybe that's what he's thinking. That would be pretty far forward thinking to see that. Another tank here. I ended my turn at 700 or at 7,000, so I could have done artillery infantry, but um, yeah, artillery. I mean, what I think about artillery in the opening is like unless you have a specific plan for them, just stay away. So I did not have a specific plan. So this guy boosts to capture the, or gets transported to capture this back chain. This guy can long for this property and probably not get it, but at least prevent CleanerCode from getting it. Okay, and I go back awkwardly to capture this city that I messed up. But I mean, so I guess the one thing you can say about this city skip is that it did force a tank to divert from threatening my properties over here, and it did bring the tank over here where I already have a tank. So I don't know, maybe there's something good about that. But I mean, just noting that you can do intentional things like that is good to be conscious of. Okay, so I think this is probably the first move I'm not really fond of. Maybe it could have gone on the city actually. And then from the city, it has more opportunity to like rotate different places. And it also like threatens more. It just like has more center control. So this feels like a little bit too much to the side and like not really doing very much. So that's like the first move I see that doesn't really feel right. And so then with 12k, I decided to go double artillery. So at the time, I was like really big into artillery. I had been watching a lot of Voice of Akasha games, and I guess one of the things about his style is that he likes artillery more than most players. And I don't know, I talked to him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, just try it out." I was like, "Yeah, advice from an excellent player. Should probably take that." So yeah, I was trying out building lots of artillery, and like the good thing about artillery in this scenario is that you're like pushing out a vehicle a lot faster. So you're accelerating a vehicle by a turn. So now it's 3 vehicles versus 2 vehicles, and then it's like you kind of have a little bit more tempo by doing that. Although they are artillery, so you have to treat them differently. Okay, now here's something that's kind of awkward. Um, so I had to make a bit of a strange play here because I see that this tank has the opportunity to interrupt or wound a bunch of infantry next turn, or one of several infantry. And my tank is way out of position. I have 2 artillery that for which the lander is not nearby. So it's like, I at the very least, this property is getting delayed. So what I noticed though is I have 1,000 gold, so I can actually do B-copter base skip. And that is what I end up doing here, which I think it probably seems like a pretty good move because I don't know. I think it's the right thing to do. I don't know if I don't know if it's good. Like it's kind of responding to a problem that I created, but by going double art, if this had been tank infantry, then tank reinforces, and then there's no base skip. But also it's a B copter, so it's like B copter base skip is like, well, you're not really going minus in unit count. You're just losing out on ability to go ahead in unit count. All right, so double artillery here. Strong ideas of like denying this property long term. Although B-copter here definitely sort of stops that temporarily. Otherwise, like anti-air follow-up here would be what you want, but I just don't have the money for that. Okay, and then CleanerCode also bought an anti-air. Kind of an awkward thing here is having the infantry move forward first, so the anti-air isn't moving its full movement range. You probably want your anti-air to be as far forward as it can be. Although maybe it doesn't matter because it's just blocking this B-copter. I don't know. Maybe it's not a mistake. It's just that when I do that, it's usually a mistake. All right, so here we have two tanks, B-copter versus equal number of vehicles and no anti-air. So I'm totally like no opportunity to fight here without losing. On the other side of the map, looks like I can get my comm tower pretty clearly as long as this tank doesn't get involved. And then the B-copter here definitely gave me some breathing room. Both of us are denying this property and then the mirror property over here. So pretty equal playing field so far. All right, so I move forward with the double artillery pretty strongly. So this B-copter can't hit anything. And I point the artillery at the city, which is like a pretty powerful move. Like this is one of the specialties of artillery in early game is you just get to point at properties and then they can't put stuff on it. Except for B-copters, as we'll see. So I go anti-air. Obviously, you can't really push and contest this airport without an anti-air. Otherwise, they just build B-copter and then your free damage is bad. Okay, so the first major thing here is so CleanerCode actually goes really crazy and builds Rocket. So this definitely screams to me like new to the game, trying something unconventional. I wouldn't call it bad. I would say it's actually like it makes a fair amount of sense. Like it's a very early for a rocket, but as you can see, the lander's in range to transport it here, and rocket kind of has this weird way of invalidating artillery where it can just kind of kite the artillery and make them uncomfortable and push them back. So I guess the rocket is kind of a response to the double artillery, and then it's just like a very it's just very early for a rocket. so so yeah, I would say yeah, unconventional, but like I can see a reason for it for sure. So looks like the tank goes back, parking two vehicles that can't get shot on cities so that I don't like nab them both and back it up with two artillery and a tank. That makes a lot of sense. Definitely worth like bringing your yeah, definitely worth uh, using your vehicles as shields for your city. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so yeah, the rocket. So now I'm thinking like, okay, well, how do I respond to rocket? And this game happened like 9 months ago, so I just don't know what I thought. Let's see. I think I probably go double tank. Okay, so it looks like I'm sort of backing off, shielding, not really contesting this city anymore. Just kind of like continuing to point artillery at that city. Yeah, and sure enough, I go double tank. Um, Getting ahead in the tank count is nice, and then it like Yeah, just having lots of tanks around it. It feels like tanks are kind of the strongest counter to rockets. They have mobility that can sit outside their range and then threaten to hit them from outside rocket range. All sorts of good stuff. So yeah, looks like that's all there is to that turn. It looks like I'm blocking pretty hard using this B-copter. It kind of makes you wonder if CleanerCode can attack with B-copter and then trade with the anti-air and then build a B-copter behind it. So like that might be an attacking opportunity, but I don't really, not too sure. All right, so now CleanerCode has like, considering he only has 2 bases, like that is a ton of infantry. So that's a lot of infantry, and I have a lot of my infantry are pretty outnumbered, and there's a lot of properties they need to defend. So I think I rotate my army left this turn, this next turn, and then as I remembered, yeah, so rocket is dropped over here. Points at this city that has been contested for a while, and yeah, defend some stuff. All right, so everything here looks pretty undefended. So I think I do rotate everything center. Yeah, and that's what I do. And then tank backs it up. So there's like, actually I brought the far tank back, and then looks like this guy's just gonna walk forward, or I guess tread forward. And then this last artillery looks like it was kind of a difficult decision for me since I moved it last. Where was I? So pointing at this city, it's like, do you continue to lock down this city, or like do you sort of glob your forces together into like a bit of a death ball? And you know, 2 artillery together are like, in some sense, they're twice as strong as 2 separate artillery, or they're more than twice as strong as 1 artillery. Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to say it. So naturally, he goes captures here, but in the same way, it's like I'm moving this monster army next to an airport towards this city. So it's like I think we're just gonna exchange. Like he'll capture this city with no contest, and I'll move my entire army to capture this city. Rockets move forward, so it's like if I try to interrupt, I just lose the unit. And it looks like CleanerCode sort of regroups with his infantry towards center. Not gonna try to take a fight out there, which seems like a great idea. Okay, now CleanerCode actually goes double artillery as well. My suspicion is he saw what they did over here and he was like, yeah, I want to do that too. And of course, like the massive infantry count for him suggests that building more artillery is gonna be profitable. Okay, now we're getting to the part of the game where it gets pretty complicated. And so what I'm gonna do is, as situations come up, I'll try to point out what I was thinking and as I remember it. And then like the details though, you're just gonna have to trust me, or like, lots of time spent in the move planner trying to do this. All right, so it looks like I go for the cap, so makes sense because that's kind of what the idea was. Okay, this turn, yeah. So this looks crazy. So Moving 3 vehicles up and only hitting 2 infantry, that's like, it's pretty absurd. It's like, it doesn't seem right. But they're backed up pretty strongly by artillery. That's kind of the main point. And then, well, let me just finish the move and then I'll show you the block that I'm trying to do. Okay, I actually respond rockets too. I think if your opponent has rockets and you don't have rockets, you can just, it's like, it's not a very fun game to play. So I think whenever my opponent gets rockets and I don't think that I can kill it, I definitely respond with my own rockets almost all the time. Okay, so nice little mech build here. I guess it's a full buy, but like it's kind of a questionable one because there's only like 1 tank over here. But I guess the idea is like I'm trying to like ball up my army. At least that's how I'm playing. So to have a mech involved seems like a good idea. It's like an extra artillery, just a little bit worse. So, all right. So let me show you the idea. What I thought was happening. So what I saw is that the anti-air is safe. The anti-air is safe, so the B-copter really shouldn't go in. Why I think the anti-air is safe is because this tank has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 onto the forest to hit this anti-air. I mean, it's definitely not hitting it from the city. Like, there's too much stuff there. So the idea is that this tank can't die, so the anti-air is safe. However, there's that B-copter, and I didn't see this B-copter. So this is like my first major blunder. At least that I can find. And then all the infantry damage. But, you know, if I would have kept the anti-air, then what I could have done is, if the anti-air is at full health, I can trade with the B-copter, and then I have 2 B-copter versus 1, and then I can just kind of win the air fight. So a nice side effect of me rotating my whole army from the right to the left is that this rocket kind of gets stranded down here. It's challenging to bring the rocket over the top because this is pretty open, and you know, rockets of course have pretty low moves, so you have to like get it maybe to this tile and then in one move go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then shield it like the double to keep it safe over here. So I have this issue too with my rocket, as we'll see later, which is that it can be challenging to like keep it safe right here because the river's in the way. Okay, so this turn obviously spent a fair amount of time on it trying to come up with a good response because there's a ton of options. Let me just go through it. All right, so first things first, anti-air goes back and heals. So Rachel is like a monster. Like her healing ability in this game turns out to be like really helpful. As you can see here, there's not really very much that can run up and kill it. So like healing 3 HP per turn, if it heals from here, it heals to 6. And at 6 HP, you're like almost one-shotting B-copters again. So like, as opposed to healing to 5 and then you're, you know, leaving it at 3 or something. Or it can still be useful in finishing off kills. Okay, so B-copter kind of does an infantry and infantry, like hits an infantry. One thing too, like sometimes you kind of look like a doofus playing against Andy because you're kind of obsessing over killing units instead of letting them live at low HP. But I think that's the way you pretty much have to play. Otherwise, I'll point out the I'll point out the low HP survival of his units, and then you see later they come back at like 5 HP higher, and then get to be a nuisance. So tank hits Beecopter. This doesn't kill. We'll be seeing more of this Beecopter. Don't worry. So kill up this tank. That kill is pretty nice. Killing a 6 HP infantry on planes feels good. Okay, did I just boost my mech? Yeah, I boosted the mech over here because I want to keep. That's right. I want to keep the lander here because I want to lander the rocket to like that one of these two tiles. Sounds pretty good. Okay, here I do another base skip, which is tank Beecopter. I think it was right around this time that I started figuring out how the matchup actually plays. I'll wait until I do a specific build, and then I'll show you, and then I'll kind of talk about how I think about the matchup now. All right, so more trading, but I kind of got into it, like, I didn't really initiate the trading, like, the trading sort of surprised me, so typically those don't go very well. Like, I think that yeah, when you play the game and you're not surprised when you look at your new turn, I think probably things are going right, or maybe horribly wrong. So maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. Okay, so a bunch of moves that I kind of like glossed over, kind of trading here. Hitting the artillery is pretty powerful, but I'm Rachel, so in one turn it can get to 6 HP. And 6 HP artillery hit pretty darn hard, so yeah, we'll see a lot of healing of artillery. Okay, so there's the rocket drop I talked about. Covers a fair amount of space here, which is great. Killing off a tank, which feels great, which even looks pretty free, so that's nice. But, you know, it's mid-trade, so it's not really completely free. Okay, so I think this is the double tank buy that I figured it out. So if you look at the mirror, the bar rather, if you look at the bar, we're both like pretty close to fully charged, and I kind of realized that like the thing with Rachel's Super CO power is like she brings down the units to low HP temporarily, and like while they're at low HP, you have to kill them so that they don't recharge during Andy's Super CO power. So that's just the fundamental idea. And then how to execute that is like, well, if I missile like a medium tank down to 4 HP, then I can kill a medium tank with 2 normal tanks. Or I can like one-shot a normal tank. Or I can one-shot an anti-air. Or a Beecopter can like one-shot a Beecopter. Like all of a sudden I'm like Grim. So yeah, basically like suddenly I have monster firepower and I can OHKO everything. And that's what Andy doesn't like. So the idea here is I want to be able to. So there's 2 possibilities. Either like I engage first with a Super CO power, get like a huge one, like kill all his army and he dies, or he gets antsy and like finds an opening and hits into me, and then hopefully my covering fire recovers me so that like I come out positive. So those are the 2 options. Either, yeah, that's what I said. So we can. So yeah, we're getting close here. So at this point, I'm thinking like pump out tanks so that I can one-shot everything. And this is my secret strategy. So like, you know, don't tell it to too many people. So as you can see, CleanerCode kind of a little bit more passive. You can see You can kind of like see where he's trying to bait the missile. There's 4 infantry here, so he wants the infantry missile to land here, which doesn't do anything for me. There's definitely going to be like a value missile here, which is why the lander is up, and that's trying to bait the missile into this clump, which he would heal off immediately because I can't kill any of these units. So basically he's trying to like bait the missile into areas of the map that don't matter. And yeah, so I'm not gonna fall for that. So but it's the right it's like the right thing to do. You have to have these plans where like the missile can't land on important units or else you die. So this is the game now. It's, you know, who thinks that they can get the most out of their power. So I kind of creep forward a little bit. So an important theme here is like I suddenly got my rocket into the very center, which gives me a ton of control over the center. Like he can't put units in the center for free anymore. And all the time I'm like, you know, being extremely cautious to make sure the rocket can't get hit or else the center can fall apart in a jiffy. So the strength with my rocket position is it has the center and his is like way back. And that's because he couldn't make the cross over this bridge earlier. Otherwise, his rocket would love to be like right and on this tile right here, like perfect rocket square. But unfortunately, it's just kind of far back due to the map not really liking, since it's hard to wall in this part of the map. Okay, so I do kind of a save here, sort of like a half save. 5, 5, 7, 2. Okay, so I'm not really. Maybe I'm banking for a medium tank. I'm not really sure what this half buy is all about, but I guess what it came down to is I didn't want another artillery. I wanted more direct fire units. So I just skipped the artillery and did infantry instead, and then saved up for like something else. Because I feel like artillery rocket is kind of enough for control, and then I just want the direct fire units, like I said before. Okay, so now CleanerCode kind of like changes his mind about the rocket, and it's still in a weak position, but it has the opportunity to like move forward in a turn. Okay, so now I'm looking around, Do I see any Super CO power openings? There's a monster value missile here, but I can't follow up on it, so I'm gonna pass. So now I'm thinking I want these 2 tanks to be just outside of rocket range so that if the rocket like stays there, then the tank, then I get to like wipe all his army if the missile lands here and then hit the rocket. That's the, yeah, it's sort of like being as aggressive as I can with the tanks. I think actually healing the 9 HP anti-air is like slightly not worth it because it already kills B-copters, but that's kind of a detail. Okay, so yeah, clearly here you can see I have a lot of center control, but like we're even on the normal. Yeah, we're even on the by the numbers, so it's not. Nobody has a specific advantage right now. Okay, so what does he build? All right, so he already has a medium tank out and then another medium tank, and now he builds a 3rd medium tank. So I guess I saw that last turn and did tank infantry again. Looking to have 30k during my next turn, in which case, during which I'm going to build a bomber. So I'll build a bomber next turn. Okay, time to build a bomber. Wait a minute. Lab units, bomber. I was not very happy about this. I had already thrown once. Like, Bomber is a lab unit for some dumb reason. So yeah, thanks, Dredge, for making this shit rule set on your tournament. Thanks, Dredge. So yeah, time to capture a lab and then figure out what to do with 30k. So is this the turn? No, it's one more turn. All right, so more careful positioning. Look at this monster positioning by my rocket. Like, protected by the mountain, no B-copters around. You can just, like, fire at... It can control this whole pass, which is bizarre. It's crazy amount of control. So these units have to be a little bit careful because getting engaged onto with hyper upgrade really hurts. So you could just like charge forward with all these guys and then heal it up. So you kind of still have to be conservative because Andy's engaged with his super is still, you still have to look out for it. Especially because, yeah, he just like reverses a lot of engagements that would otherwise go kind of negative. Okay, so I like very sadly go double tank because I can't build a tech unit. So yeah, the lab units are like stealth, bomber, neo. So all of those units I think would be great right now, but maybe not stealth. I probably don't want to get Andy into like a stealth game because then it's like really hard to kill, and yeah, Andy stealths just seem horrible. So probably avoid him. Try to like convince him not to think about that. But okay, so he makes another defensive move. Gets a little bit more far forward. All right, so yeah, I mean, a lot of positioning, and again, a lot of it is like reacting to what the opponent just did so that we can't get our important units hit. An important thing with this game state, though, is 3 medium tanks versus like nothing that hits medium tanks. So I'm like banking heavily on hitting these medium tanks with missile. So I need an anti-medium tank unit, and I have 2 options. I have bomber and I have neo tank. As I said, stealth, I think it's off the table. I decided to go neo tank. It's just like a more sturdy unit. And although I think bomber could have been, I think maybe part of it is like I didn't want to get into the game of like bomber responds to with fighter, respond with fighter, because like anti-bomber fighters are kind of nasty. So I think maybe that's why I went neo, but I thought about this earlier. I don't have a clear answer as to why I went neo. Neo bopped your base skip, that's cool. Makes you look flashy. And if you look at the unit count, like we're about even, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so more positioning, more positioning. And there's the bomber for CleanerCode. And I'm thinking like, oh man, do I really have to build a fighter? Like, I mean, bomber is great for Andy because there's only 2 units that hit bomber that I want to build, and those are fighter and anti-air. And fighter's really expensive and kind of makes me sad to use it. And anti-fighter versus normal fighter is really sad. Or anti-air, in which case doesn't even one-shot the bomber, so it's like kind of a tough time. Okay, so all right, this is a very special turn. So let's go to the move planner, and let me show you what I'm thinking. Okay, so Rachel Super CO power. Show missile. Wrong. No, that's not Rachel. Okay, so as you can see, there's like a monster missile that goes down here, and I have like a lot of tanks, like a lot of tanks. Unfortunately, stuff at 4 HP doesn't die to tank. However, okay, there are 4 infantry here, and there are no other, and then there's 4 infantry in this missile. So if I can kill one of these infantry, then I can redirect all 3 missiles to hit here, and then wherever all 3 of them hit in one place, the unit goes to 1 HP, which is great, because tanks kill pretty much anything that's at 1 HP. So here's what I do. I move my anti-air down here, kill that, and now if we apply power, okay, now we're cooking. Okay, we go, yeah, we go, I want that, and kill that, get out of here, do that, kill that, get out of here. Well, let's say that I need 3, not you. Let's say I need 3 tanks to kill this medium tank, which I think it's a luck roll at this percent. All right, that, and there goes the rocket. Okay, boom. Okay, so if you look at the value, I'm up like a lot. So I stacked an anti-air to do this. With super, I can actually do some nasty things to the tanks over here too. But you kind of have to kill everything because he's gonna hyper upgrade back. But with his basic idea, I saw this and I was like, okay, this looks pretty great. I'm up a lot in value. I mean, he's gonna get like this unit, and this unit. That's a fair amount of hyper upgrade, but like I can work with this. Like, let me sit down and think. And I labbed and came up with this amazing turn that, and then I brought this anti-air over to this infantry. Brought this anti-air right over here. And it doesn't OCO. So actually, I spent like an hour or 2 on this, and it doesn't work. Rats. Okay, better make another move. Okay. I was so angry. I just like shut down my computer. I was so mad, dude. Let me go back to the keys to go. So another boring turn. Boring. And sometimes when in moments like this, you're like, is action ever gonna happen? Like, it's taking forever, and like this is making me nervous. So yeah, look, I float again. Looks like I want to go for a fighter potentially. So just pointing that out about the buys, which are important. So no, CleanerCode actually goes in here. So tank hit, infantry hit, tank hit, infantry hit, B-copter on B-copter, hyper upgrade. Okay, that doesn't die, which is great. So bomber OCO, infantry OCO, medium tank on Neo tank, another OCO, another OCO. Luckily, like mostly infantry shots, which is good for me. But I did lose this Neo exchange pretty badly. I'm hurting on unit count. And I have like nothing left to hit these medium tanks pretty much, except for indirects. And look, he even has like a giant bunch of infantry here to absorb both the HP missile and the infantry missile. So looking pretty bad. But I can do some stuff. Okay, so I think this showcases pretty clearly one of the strengths of Rachel, which is when she has Super CO power ready to go, she has like a lot of say in where it gets to land sometimes. So we can look just really quickly. I don't want this to take forever. I just want to show you where it's going to land. Okay, so it looks like 2 missiles. Oh, we'll just apply power. So it looks like 1 missile down here hits some stuff, and I get to KO the bomber, which is cool. So one-shotting the bomber is a pretty sweet pickup, but it doesn't do anything with this clump here, which is pretty scary. So what I decided to do instead, I decided to go in on this area and then let the other missile land here. So that kill is like super clutch. Like, what's the damage here? Because if this doesn't work, I'm like super dead. 14 to 23. So yeah, if this, yeah, depends on how the other rolls went. But if that doesn't work, then like we're in trouble because nothing else hits that medium tank. Okay, killing stuff. Not killing a bomber, but at least like getting it out of the picture for the meantime. Like it's gonna be a while before the next hyper upgrade, so it's okay to make trades like this, and like, it's kind of what you have to do. Here comes covering fire. It hits all these units here, which feels phenomenal. And you can actually look at the unit value here. According to the unit value, I'm actually back to even, and I haven't bought yet. So, and I banked, so I'm like kind of back in the driver's seat. I just have to kill some more stuff, I literally have no idea why I did that. It must be some like big brain rule that I don't get. I guess I was trying to get this rule so that I can kill the. Oh, so I kill the anti-air and then back it up with beacon. I don't know. But failed rules. You just have to. Oh, and another failed rule. Oh, shame. Killing the anti-air is super good though. That's that one. That one's not anti-air. That one's artillery. Okay. Kill some infantry. Kind of overloading the rocket so it has to run away, sort of. Trapping the medium tank here definitely helps solve this problem of like lots of medium tanks that I don't know what to do with. So I have 2 artillery to deal with this medium tank and rocket artillery to deal with this medium tank. So it's like I finally kind of have I'm kind of have an answer for the situation. Bad exchange here on purpose so that this infantry can't capture my stuff really fast. Okay, so yeah, CleanerCode. I mean, a bunch of complicated moves with like lots of options for different stuff. So like, hard to figure out what the right thing is. So rocket bomber kill this, untrap the medium tank. However, the rocket is like looking kind of exposed, so something has to be done about that. And it's pretty well cut off, so it looks like rocket is safe pretty much. So the medium tank decides to stay and fight because both tanks land on the artillery. So normally when both of your artillery go down like this, it's like moderately GG. So like, I don't know. I literally sometimes I like look at frames from this game and I'm like, how did this game not end right now? So another bomber, anti-bomber is really good. CleanerCode showed a lot of game knowledge, like a lot of stuff that isn't just like good positioning. He showed a lot of knowledge of specific mechanics to Advance Wars by Web for sure. Okay, so kind of retreating. Artillery on city, it goes up to 7 next turn, and then it's a functional artillery again, which is amazing. So Neo Tank on the HQ to heal up and then reinforce this part of the map, which needs a ton of help. A 3-2 kill, that's awesome. Killing the anti-air, that's phenomenal. It's like really huge because he's like getting close to hyper upgrade again. So that's a trade I'll make every day of the week. So yeah, the rolls, yeah, no kill there, but pretty close. Okay, and then double anti-air because we just because I sacked this one for B-copter, so need to get back on the anti-air count. Okay, so before this, I was kind of like, I mean, after the big giant power explosion that we both had, I was willing to exchange in a way that I didn't always kill units. But with his meter right here, I need to start killing units again. So this medium tank needs to die, is basically what I'm thinking. This medium tank I can deal with, but like it would be really nice to kill off this medium tank. And that's what I do. I think going deep with this guy was kind of a mistake. I feel like I could have killed off this oh, the 3 HP guy does it. Or the 8 HP. Okay, it looks like I got kind of I was pretty conservative with killing off that tank. I wanted to make sure it died for sure. I mean, look, I mean, a lot of exchanges to a lot of like killing off of low HP infantry. Dealing with a gigantic infantry swarm after super, it would be a giant headache. So this is a pretty funny one. Like this this rocket is exposed on one side if this 3 HP bomber kills and then the bomber kills. But then it's 2 anti-air. It's actually like no, so it's 2 anti-air to trade into the 2 bombers. So it's like I don't know. That was a hard decision, like risking your rocket for the reward of, a bomber and a half. Okay, immediately goes super, which actually feels a little bit not right. It seems like I'm sure there's probably a way to get value out of trades. Um, yeah, and having to do difficult things with the anti-air, like putting them on 3-star terrain so that the bombers can't sack into them. That's a difficult thing to do against Andy for sure. It's easy to forget that, and then you just don't have any anti-air anymore. So both bombers go straight left. And I actually remember at the time seeing the replay and thinking, like, are you sure you didn't want to trade for my rocket? Because that's the move I was thinking from his position. So, a big giant hyper upgrade here kind of almost feels like a going for the throat move. However, there's like a massive covering fire about to happen. So this kind of feels like a point where CleanerCode maybe missed something. So here's the covering fire. I just go for it immediately. The good thing is it gets the bombers within range where they can mostly be killed. Not quite by this guy though, and this guy's out of range. So both bombers are safe for now. But hits the medium tank, and crucially, then I can kill off the medium tank. And I have to stack my Neo to do it, apparently. I don't know. I did the calculation. That apparently that's what it was. Okay, barely kill off the tank, the medium tank, and that opens up the bomber down to 1. That's infuriating. It's okay. We've been, the rules have been going both ways, so at least it hasn't been one-sided. Also, having to heal, like having to refuel this lander way over here is like, why can't this be a port, man? Like, okay, so by the numbers, I retaliate, and I'm actually up pretty good in unit value. Unit count, I'm like, yeah, it's an exchange, so it's about even, but I'm kind of in there for now. Like things are going not so bad. And I think that probably what it is like both times he made it easy for me by attacking into me, and then the covering fire, I could click the button without too much thought, and then I could kill off the units hit by covering fire. So it's like maybe Andy's hyper upgrade has to be stronger than you might think. Okay, bringing both bombers back. And the thing is, like, I mean, he is down in unit value by a noticeable amount, but with one hyper upgrade, he like buys himself back a bomber and change. So, like after another hyper upgrade, he's up a bit in unit value, like immediately without having to fight. So here I go pretty deep trying to kill off some infantry. Yeah, so I block with this 3 HP B-copter, which is pretty sick. Kind of go in here, looks really deep with the tanks, but I can back it all up with a rocket. So the point of this is, let me show you. And look, we're both at low meter, or he's at low meter, so I can make non-lethal attacks like that. So rocket goes here, and the great thing about that is I can blast away at anything that's like trying to protect his rocket. So if his rocket fires, it's in great danger of being killed. I guess by symmetry he has the same thing, but I just have more stuff, so I think it's fine. So I think already people who are like big critics of Rachel versus Andy, I think that already people can probably see it's like in a very carefully played game, Rachel can hold her own. Not always, but like it doesn't look impossible for her to win. I mean, I haven't done this matchup very much, so maybe it gets worse, but I mean, already Ice Maker going crazy. Yeah, but it seems like Rachel has something in this matchup. Okay, so I mean, throughout all this, none of us have had any sort of capture advantage, which honestly kind of speaks slightly negatively to the map, or maybe it just speaks to how carefully we're playing. So I'm not sure. Okay, so I guess part of, let me just was it? Oh yeah. Part of the reason for this attack was I guess part of the reason that it worked out is because there's like a mech in range of hitting this 7 HP artillery, and CleanerCode didn't go for a covering unit from the mountain. So next turn, I get to do this. Get to do that. Rocket kills. So now the rocket's exposed, but looks like I actually do not have a unit to hit it with. So there's that. Kill the B-copter, which is super nice. Infantry in range of captures, which is like kind of what we've been waiting for all game. I really like the B-copter block I did here, where I guess I relied on the fact that CleanerCode wasn't going to stack hard into my position and kill this B-copter. But even then, it's like once he does that, what does he do? So yeah, it feels like I'm in a pretty good spot. And I think a lot of it has to do with just like knowing when I can. Oh my gosh, this beat. Why is this place so loud? Part of it is like I'm able to switch between like attacking to kill versus attacking to wound, and then like as Andy's meter gets up, I attack to kill again. Okay, so attacking stuff. And actually, the unit count is pretty indicative that I'm doing pretty well here. Like my indirects are, like these two artillery are just absolutely glorious right now. Just so many infantry to shield it, and it like you can just set it and forget it, and then your stuff is probably safe. Okay, so double capture here. I remember figuring out where to put these anti-air was really hard. Because it's like, I don't know. Actually, it's probably not that hard. Never mind. I'm probably just winning. I'm probably just gloating right now. Okay. Okay, hit on one of my artillery, but it looks like the medium tank's gonna take a big shot for it. So this might even be a misclick, is moving this tank and hitting this infantry instead of interrupting this cap. I kind of feel like you want to interrupt the tower cap for sure. Okay, because now I get the tower cap, and I have look at all these like long range, like these fast moving direct firing units, and I'm close to a missile, so I think you can kind of figure out what's going to happen next. And I get 2 towers to 0. And there's covering fire. One bomber dead, 2 bomber dead, and the game is pretty much over. So yeah, that I think we can look really quick again at like what the covering. Oh, we gotta do forward 1. So I mean, like you look, there's a lot of full HP units right here bunched in the center, and oh, I see. So the B-copter hits this infantry to redirect the infantry missile. So now the infantry missile lands like here, somewhere around here, which is where everything else is. Now everything is like at super low HP. Anti-air both kill bombers, and that's like the bomber was like really his last unit to hold out. And as you can see, having 4 anti-air versus 2 bombers is just like it's hard to deal with if you don't have the tank count to threaten the anti-air. So yeah, so we can look through this one more time just to make me happy. It's okay, guys. guys, I'm gonna lose next time. Next time we do the self-analysis, I'll lose, I promise. Okay, and he actually just instantly ends turn, which I think is a little weird. instead of resigning. But it's okay. Everyone's allowed to be salty. Or maybe this is just how he ends the game, I don't know. Maybe he's not salty, I don't know. I'd be salty, dude. This is getting worse. I'm trying to like I'm literally just like digging myself a deeper hole, sounding like a jackass. Okay. All right, the game's over. The game's over. Okay. And then I think he resigns here. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I hope you guys all learned a bit about this map, like kind of what I learned about Rachel versus Andy in this map. I think that some important takeaways are just like think about your super as like giving you the ability to one-shot a bunch of stuff as Rachel into Andy. Obviously, like you have to look out for Andy's hyper upgrade as an offensive tool, as we saw CleanerCode try twice. And then I think we saw a lot of cool tactical stuff too. Like I think the rocket dance was really quite interesting. I was able to take about like somewhere around here, like this tile with a rocket, while his was back in the corner, and I was able to milk a positional advantage pretty strongly. Yeah, and then double Artie in the opening felt pretty cool. Like didn't get a lot out of the push, but those two artillery became extremely useful later as he went for the stereotypical Andy medium tank style. And I responded myself not by going medium tank, specifically because it's a 5-move unit and I wanted 6-move units. So trying to like respond with artillery tank or artillery neo was my preference. So yeah. And actually I think that I'm trying to remember if we saw any specific instances of like the missile tie resolving in my favor. There was one instance with the infantry where it resolved not in my favor, I think. But on average, it's supposed to help you. So yeah, maybe even it's a little more optimal to like, if you're top Rachel, you attack the bottom left area, and then that's kind of where your missiles are most likely to land. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you learned something. And yeah, hopefully we can do one of these again sometime soon. I think it's been like 9 months, maybe 8 months since the last one. Before that, it was like 2 years. So yeah, hopefully we can do more of this in the future. So yeah, see you guys all next time.